Alright, Zeros, welcome to Off the Grid by Gunzilla. So you're probably here because you're brand new to the game, maybe you've just downloaded it off Steam, or you're just looking at a bit of an intro video about how to get started. So let's start by clearing a couple of things up and how the menu looks. So firstly, let's have a look at our daily challenges. So our daily challenges are right there on their screen on the left. So you can see I've already done my dailies at the moment, which are change a customization item, deal some damage with a marksman rifle, and initiate teardrop ops. We then have our weekly missions and our monthly missions. These can be used to gain additional account experience and battle pass experience. Also, you can see the weeklies and the monthlies do give you a hex, which we'll explain hexes a little bit later. One thing I do generally tell people to start with is make sure you join the Discord. The Discord is where you'll find a bunch of new people to play with, but also get some answers to the questions about when you first get started. So one thing to note when you do start playing this game is that you won't be playing against real players when you first start. When you first start, you'll be put into what they call a protected barrier class, which is essentially where you won't be given an opportunity to verse real players because there's an extremely high skill ceiling in this game. So most players when they first start think that they're playing against bots, which you are 100%. You're not playing against real players. So if you're only putting in an hour or so into this game, just be aware that you're probably not going to get out of that protected barrier for about an hour or so, depending on how quickly you progress through those noob challenges when they are first presented. Now, one of the things that I do let people know is that a lot of the negative reviews that you will see on sites, I have a look at their playtime. They've played one game, maybe two games. These people aren't playing the real game. They're playing essentially the tutorial where they're dropping onto the island and versing just bots. They're not playing other players. As you can imagine, I've downloaded Steam just to kind of experience what they're experiencing when they first start, and it's a very, very different game experience to a more experienced player. Now, one way that you can get through that quickly is you can potentially put a message up on Discord and invite some friends to play, and somebody that's already been playing the game is outside of that protected barrier. So if you join their party, you'll bypass that protection barrier period. So I highly recommend skipping that as it can be a little bit boring and frustrating if all you're doing is versing bots for the first hour or so of gameplay. Let's have a look at the Off the Grid Pro benefits. Now, Off the Grid does have a paid option. Now, as a whole, Off the Grid is a free-to-play game. There is absolutely no obligation to purchase anything. There is no pay-to-win elements. There is no requirement to put any real-life money into this game. You may choose to support the studio by purchasing their Pro subscription, which I choose to, but I've got other accounts on Steam as well as on PlayStation, which do not have the Pro subscription. The only real benefits that I see in the Pro, one, you're supporting the studio, and two, there is some additional benefits in your gun earn reward rate, as well as the ability to put your clan tag on if you're running as a group, as well as, of course, the battle pass. So we'll have a quick look at the battle pass. Now, the battle pass here does have a free section. So if you do not want to support the paid model, then you don't have to. You can see here you can still get a Mavinga for free with some attachments, as well as extended mags. But if you do choose to pay, down the bottom you can see that there is the OTG Pro subscription battle pass as well. So even if you aren't playing, you do get some weapons, you'll get some cosmetics, you'll get some gun, but there's obviously more in the battle pass, which is pretty standard for most shooters these days. Now let's have a look at the marketplace. The marketplace is a peer-to-peer store that allows people of the same platform, so Steam and Steam or Epic and Epic, PlayStation, to browse what other people on their device are actually buying and selling. So let's have a look at appearance. So full body skins, these are some of the previous Battle Pass items or exclusive skins that were given away. Some of the less desirable skins, where there's a lot of them, might be something like a Camilla skin here or a blue set skin for 400. Some of the more desirable skins might be something like the first skin, which was Ninja, as you can see, 998 gun. You can go over to your items, any item that you want to sell. Maybe I want to sell this vest. You can see that the marketplace offers. Currently, the cheapest one is 97 gun. If I wanted to sell that quickly, I might decide to list this for 96 gun. This is a way you can get excess gun and allows you to stockpile that gun so that you can purchase the things that you want, whether that's be loadout items. So it might be that you're looking at purchasing weapons. Maybe you want to buy a Terracon. You want to have a look at how much they are and buy the cheapest one available. Some people, as you can see, there's a column there called number. Some people are specific around the NFT number they want. So obviously low NFT item numbers go for more. But if you're just wanting to use the weapon, then I'd suggest just buying the cheapest one on the store. This goes for every single weapon in the game. You can buy all the attachments, you can buy all the weapons, you can buy all the skins. What I generally recommend is focus on getting the limbs that you want first. So you might decide that the main priority is going to be getting your runners, it might be getting your leapers, or whatever limb it is you want, so that you can start building out a loadout. All right, now let's have a look at hexes. Hexes are the lifeblood of all zeros. So every time you drop onto Teardrop, you're going to be looking for hexes. Hexes are your items. So every single time you drop into Teardrop and you want to find some new weapons, some new cyber limbs, you're going to be looking for hexes, which we'll show you shortly. Once you do manage to extract a hex, it's going to drop into this hexes inventory. Once you've got them in your inventory, you can see here we've got a grey, a green, a blue, a purple, as well as the amount of them that I've got of each. Now, if I go ahead and open this, you'll see it cost me 0.5 gun to open this. And let's see what we get here. So I've got a common flenser. So I can then attach that flenser if I want to. Now, if I want something a little bit rarer or worth potentially more, I might decide to open a purple here. And we've got an AZV100 heavy barrel. So this could sell for more than that common flenser, but you can see that we're able to unlock new items by extracting these hexes. So as you can see, I've found a hex inside this box here, so I can pick this up. It says it's a weapon hex. I can grab that. I carry it down to the hex extractor here, and I can put it in. Once this reaches 100, that hex does end up in my inventory. So this here is where an enemy is extracting their hex. I can steal it. You used to have to shoot these to stop the power, but at the moment you can just walk straight up to it and extract it. If you do want to stop this counting up to buy some more time, if you can't close the gap and get there to steal it, you can still pause it. Now it's hacked. We're going to wait for it to count down, and we're going to pick it up, and then we're going to re-upload it. Then we have our appearance. Now appearance is pretty self-explanatory. We have up the top our wardrobe, anatomy, emotes, combat DJ, and lobby music. We can customize all of this. We might decide we want to wear helmets, so you can really customize the way your zero looks and interacts with the world. Look at our friends list before we jump in and have a quick look at our loadouts. So our friends list is where we're going to find all our players. We can look at our recent squad. Now this is the people that we've been playing with. So last game that I played with Brian and Carbon Fiber. We can then go ahead and find players. This is a full cross-platform game, so we can find people on all platforms from PlayStation 5 to the Xbox, as well as Steam and Epic friends. And then once they're here, it's very similar to other shooters. You can see that they're all online. Now let's have a quick look at loadouts. Once we navigate over to the loadout tab, you can see that we can start to build out different loadouts. Now how we do that, very simple. We click on it and we have a look at what weapon we may want to attach as our primary. Do the same for our secondary. Our sidearms, personally I don't throw a sidearm on just because we do start with a pistol anyway. We then pick our arm for our left arm, our legs, and our right arm. Here, make sure we'll be adding plates. You do add more than just the one. And then what backpack? The different backpacks available. A grid shield backpack I generally don't recommend. It is A, the most expensive, and 2, it doesn't provide enough protection within the grid. Then we have our limb accelerator. This is what I choose to use just because I have leapers and they only get 3 charges, so this allows me to recharge them faster. Soldier backpack seems to be the main pick for a lot of players. It just stops you having to reload manually. It'll reload for you. The simple backpack is just a slight upgrade from the other simple backpack, just allows you to carry a little bit more. Let's have a look at some of these limbs.
And remember, kids, shoot them till they
We're going to
stop
start
moving,
off with
then
our
shoot 'em
bounce
again
bomber,
for good
cyber
measure.
lancers, and buzz killers. So the bounce bomber, bit of a fun limb, nothing too sexy about it. Firstly, you press the key, it'll throw the bomb out. If you don't press anything, it'll be on a timer and will eventually explode. If you do double tap that, you can see, you can set off that bomb earlier. It's usually 2 full hits will drop somebody. We then have our cyber lancers. Cyber lancers are one of the newer limbs in the game. They are essentially a flying knee. So we can see here, that puts a bleed damage on their health. So you'll see there that they're starting to bleed. That does 50% of their health, as well as about 50% of their shields. We then have our buzz killer. Our buzz killer is an area of effects weapon. As you can see, it's just sitting there. Right now, it is a pretty meta area of effect weapon. A lot of people are running 2 of these to essentially take out their enemies. Which moves us on to our next limb. We'll start with our Ghost. Ghost, great for campers. New players, if they want to hide from sweatier players, they can kind of use it to go relatively invisible. The stiller you are, the more invisible you are, and most players won't see you. You can see the timer activation down the bottom there, so it's active for another 18 seconds. If you do move, you become more visible. If you do fire a weapon, you come out of that invisibility. It takes a moment to go back in. We then have our hook arm. Hook arm is one of my personal favorite limbs. It does allow you to get additional altitude. It just really helps you kind of navigate the island with ease. One of the things that I love most about it is that it does allow you to recharge the jetpack as it starts to overheat. As you can see, the heat indicator on the left of my screen there, we're at 50%. As that starts to go up, what's going to happen is if we overheat, we will just drop out of the sky. So what we can do is use the hook arm to help reduce the heat on that. So we went from about 75 to 50%. Do it again. And kind of allows you to keep going and get around the island. We then have our hammerhead legs. Hammerhead legs can be used to do quite a bit of damage and a little bit of an area of effect on a group of enemies. We then have our javelin. They can be tapped like so to do, instant damage, or you can lock them. We then have our leapers. This is my personal preference for getting around the island. Just allows for additional verticality. And then we have our kinetic shield. Kinetic shields, more of a defensive playstyle. Not a whole lot of people use this limb, as you can see, my feet are still exposed. So people, when they come up against the shield, will traditionally aim at the feet. They can crouch to guard them, but they can still be shot on that left arm, as you can see, or the right arm if it's on the other side. I'll show you, you can lock the javelin, and it'll shoot multiple projectiles out. We then have our maxi gun. Now the maxi gun is pretty overpowered, especially if it does get a jump on you. We do have our roadrunners. Roadrunners are great for traversing, especially inside. However, do limit your verticality. So they often pair runners with other limbs, like the hook arm or the slam fist. And then we have our paralyzer arm. As you can see, it stops them from moving. It also stops them from using limbs, so they won't be able to use anything to get away. They won't be able to use any of their limbs. They'll have to rely on their guns to fight you. Here we have the phosphor. The phosphor, if it's just tapped, you'll see it won't quite kill them. It does a bit of damage, and it leaves a cloud damage area of effect as well, which if you don't get out of it, will still kill you. We have our recon drone. which, as you can see, allows me to see through walls for short bursts of time. And I'll usually get 3 or 4 pings, I think it is. Then we have our thumpers. Unfortunately, you can't use the thumpers in the training. You can see I'm inside. The other thing is the phosphor dart. You can charge it to a one-shot. If it is charged at over 60%, it will one-shot. Just like that. Here's a combination of limbs that you might see more regularly. So roadrunners are fantastic for, like I said, getting around. But then when they want to gain some altitude, they'll use their slam fist to look up and gain some altitude. The Ripper is a limb that can be used to remove arms and legs. The slam fist will also allow you to do some damage inside, enclosed spaces. So if you're entering this room, you might pop in and start by stunning them. Rippers are extremely dangerous if they do remove your legs, so just be aware of that. We then have our slugger arm. So slugger, it's kind of like a goo. You can throw it somewhere. You can see here, it's a large area. As somebody enters the slugger, it goes on their legs and stops them moving as quickly. It can also be set on fire. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage. As you can see, as that fire starts to burn people, it does some extra damage. We then have our trip mines, which are very similar to a claymore in Call of Duty. It can be put on any surface. If somebody was to go through that laser, it would go off. Let's see this dummy go through it. There we go. Usually it is 2 of them to do the damage. So if we let's see like that, you can chain the mines together. Which moves us into our last limb, which is our skunk paw. Now skunk paw is an area of effect weapon. As you can see, damaging the health, not the shields. So it bypasses the shields. You can see on myself as well. I think the limb could be buffed a little bit, but overall it's great for clearing out areas. Alright, Zeros, we have started a match. What that means is we can now jump in and have a look at our map and just see which missions we're going to do. So we have our players and teams, which allows us to put pings, see where everybody is. So we've got somebody over there. We might have somebody up the other end of the map. That's okay. But what we want to do is make sure we know where all the hex tractors are. So this is a hex tractor here. We've got another one up the back here.
Wounded teammate detected.
Got one here. There's a couple more throughout the map. But what we're really looking at is our teardrop ops. So corporate sabotage is this mission here. It's a fantastic way to start the game. It gives us the most amount of rips at about 5,000 rips, which will allow us to buy our loadouts earlier. We then have our net runners. Net runners are a great mission as well. They give us about half the amount of rips, but they allow us to see where the circle's moving to next. If you're newer to the game, a good one might be to grab a cyber limb hunt. It doesn't give us much money, however it will give you variations of different limbs to try. We then have our Sky Navigator. This mission's, it's a bit boring to be honest. It doesn't give you a lot of money, doesn't really give you much. I generally steer clear of those. We then have our Drone Plunder and Hex Collector missions. These ones here, you can't see any of those on here because they're more likely to drop hexes. When we drop hexes, obviously our goal is to grab those hexes, take them to a hex extractor and put them in so that we can get more. As you can see, I've come over to this corporate sabotage mission. It shows me the 5,000 rips I'm going to get, so I'll pick that up, which will allow me to see where I'm going to go on the map. So I'm going to head this direction. As you saw when I flew into the yellow area of the map, it showed me exactly where I had to go and plant that bomb for that mission. We're flying into the last part of this mission. We're going to place the bomb, and that'll give us the full 5,000. You'll see my currency down the bottom left there. Once that goes off, it should go up to 5,000. Now we can afford one of our loadouts. So we can pull that up, and we'll figure out what loadout we're going to call. This one here is my main, and I'll place that right there. Takes about 15 seconds to come in. Once it comes in, I'll pick that up and we'll have guns. If you have a look here on the map, you'll notice that there's a green
Enemies
hex
extracting the
just
hex in,
disappeared, which
would you
means
guess?
somebody's just put one in. Let's go ahead and steal that
Enemy
hex off
down!
them.
Enemy hex extraction initiated in Salty neighborhood. The grid will overload in 10
Okay,
seconds.
I've stolen that hex. He's going to try to fight for it.
Okay, folks, now it's time to stay
He
away from the grid or say
tried
hello
to
to
stop
that
me,
nice warm place
and now we're going to
where
steal it
good
again.
soldiers go when they die
Vital signs
violently.
improving.
I've stolen that, and I'm going to re-upload it. Now it's my turn to defend it.
Down. I would just like to
And
say
just like that, Zeros, if everything does go well, you should walk away with a victory. At the end of the game, you will be treated to a nice little clip of you walking out on stage for the W, which you can skip, which we will do, and it'll show you your stats. We can then go to the lead match, where we'll get a bit of a summary of how we performed. So here we are. So we extracted 4 hexes that game, walked away with a W, and we received 9 gun. That's it. Thanks very much, guys. And if you are looking for some additional support, feel free to jump into our Discord. It's going to help you pair up with some new players as well as some existing players who know what they're doing and help you get some Ws in the future. Thanks, guys.